Why is everyone gaslighting me? My girlfriend and I have been hating each other for a while now, and I guess we have been attacking each other verbally. The sly remarks here and there, though we both knew that the relationship was turning sour. We didn't want to break up due to the fact that our parents are friends, have known us for a long time as being in a relationship. If we broke up, we would break the whole dynamic with our families and friends. And as the saying goes, when you enter a relationship, you don't just marry the significant other, but rather their families and friends as well. We both made each other miserable, and yet we tried to be civil at the same time, but having a conversation was so hard to start, and was also extremely hard to end the conversation as well. Oh, the arguments we have had were abysmal, and even though all of the shouting should have used up the stress and anger, it only leads to more resentment. At times I would win arguments with my girlfriend, and at times she would win. The one losing the arguments only seeks to have revenge, to win another argument. I actually looked forward to working, as it meant that I would have more time away from my girlfriend, and she too started to enjoy work, because it meant that she would have some space away from me. Don't get me started on watching romantic films, as that only made us both feel awkward, and seeing something on telly, which our relationship was missing, only made us resent our relationship even more. I did hate her, as she hated me, but none of us could imagine breaking up the relationship, as we had put so much time and effort into the relationship. It's an investment when people embark in a relationship, and the time you must put into it to make the relationship grow is something you can never get back. Starting a new relationship only means that you must start from scratch, and the uphill struggle looks even more steeper. Yet, I do remember the start of the relationship, when both me and my girlfriend saw each other for the first time, and it blossomed so wonderfully. What has gone on wrong right now is beyond me, and we did try counseling and trying to constantly talk it out, but the resentment and anger just comes out. And as you know it, we are both shouting at each other. Luckily, we have never hit each other, as that would have been really bad. Then one day, as we were both arguing in our apartment, we were just calling each other's names. I don't know what I did to piss her off, but she started to criticize me and my family as well, as my friends. And I tried doing it back to her, but I was so tired because of work. I hated it when she started to verbally attack me when I would come home from work, as that would mean that I was too tired to think of anything good to say. I remember thinking to myself to never have kids with this woman, and I'm sure she was thinking the same thing, as she was calling me names and mocking who I was kind of starting to blank out in my own mind, and being so sick of being in this relationship. The only good comeback I could say to her calling me was, well, at least my father never assaulted me. And even though her father is the most gentle human being you would ever meet, I brought him into this argument. I had no idea what got over me to say such a thing to my girlfriend. She kept shouting and what I was on about, and I kept on saying, well, at least my father never assaulted me, unlike yours. And this just got us so confused. I guess I just want to confuse her, and with the amount of arguments we have been having at the time, and the amount of things we have been saying to each other, I guess I just wanted to take our arguments into a new direction. She was so confused and didn't know what to say, and she demanded to tell me what I meant. I kept telling her, who are you to attack my friends and family when your own father did horrible things to you? And she was so blindingly confused right then at the point. I then told her that she had told me drunkenly one night when our relationship was good, that her father did things to her when she was a child, even though he did no such thing. You see, this was my defense attack against her, by confusing her and telling her lies, and other things that have never happened to her. She shouted and kept on shouting at me. And I just kept saying that her anger came from what her father did to her, even though she told me no such thing. The argument carried on to other arguments on other days, when she was pissed at me, and I just attacked her back by making things up from complete imagination. It started to really mess with her, and she was truthfully a bit of a heavy drinker. And when she does drink, she does tend to tell me things which she forgets about in the morning. Then one day, after we were having another argument, I did the same thing once again, by making stuff up about her father, doing stuff to her, and she breaks down crying. She goes on social media and tells everyone about what I had said about her father, and her father then rings me. I was so scared, but I decided to keep up with what I had said about him. And I told her father that her daughter had told me on multiple times, while she was heavily drunk, that she had told me stuff about him, really bad stuff. He came down to our apartment and punched me in the face, where I then phoned the police and told them everything that had happened. My girlfriend's father then got arrested for suspicion of doing something to his daughter, when she was just a child. Then, when my girlfriend watched her own father being taken away by the police, she then, by some weird logic, started to believe me. She then started to think whether her dad had done things to her, and started to believe that maybe she did tell me things about her own father, and she was out flat, drunk. Maybe her father did things to her as a child, and she forgot about it, and only came out her consciousness when she got so drunk and had told me about it. I couldn't believe it, and she was just so emotional. She started to hug me, and also started telling me how sorry she was about taking her emotional baggage onto me. Her father was pleading his innocence, and even my girlfriend's mother was contemplating whenever her husband did things to her daughter when she wasn't around the house. I honestly didn't expect things to come in this direction, but I couldn't really stop now, and I was in too deep. I felt so bad for my girlfriend's father, and one night I would start having shame terrors, and I couldn't believe what I had done. I was just trying to mess with my girlfriend's head by making stuff up, because she would have started arguments with me when I was at my weakest, which was coming home after work. This world is a peculiar one, and I tried blaming my girlfriend in my own mind for pushing me this far. But in the end, it was me who did this, not her. Her father never did anything to me to deserve this, and I didn't know how to tell the truth. At work, I would go to the bathroom to puke out of sheer fear and shame. My girlfriend's father's life was a mess, and he had lawyers, but the police were all over it, and even some newspapers were writing about him. And my girlfriend as well, as her mother, were now fully believing that a man who they called husband, father, was now in prison for doing something he never did. It's funny how words can escape into reality. I wish my girlfriend never went on social media and spilled out arguments all over online. And why couldn't she just be confused or even better, fight me back verbally? My girlfriend's father's a good man and has done many things for me, and it ended up that he goes to prison, as he didn't have enough money to hire better lawyers. I couldn't believe that I had sent my girlfriend's dad to prison for over nothing, and that he was the one suffering for the consequences from all the arguing and shouting from the relationship with my girlfriend. I had to make this right. That's all I could think about in my relationship. My girlfriend was actually better at this point, and she seemed to be at peace with me for helping her realize what was causing her so much anger. No one was visiting her father in prison, and only I visited him secretly. Seeing him in prison was definitely not even half the man he was before all of this started. His mental state was all over the place, and the only reason he decided to see me was because no one else would, or even have a normal conversation with him. I was the only one who was willing to talk to him. He was vulnerable, and seeing him like this just made me decide that I had to get him out. The way he was talking, like he didn't care anymore, was just heartbreaking. I couldn't see him like this anymore. He was vulnerable in every way, and I had made up something else to get him out of prison. I told him about a time where he was so blindly drunk that he told me about his wife that he didn't mean to tell me. He does get blindly drunk and starts to tell me things, exactly like his daughter. But this time I had made something up. I told him that many times when he was drunk, he told me that his wife was physically abusive, and that he could hear ghosts of dead people, telling her to force her husband to do things to the daughter. My girlfriend's father had no idea what I was telling him, and I used his confused position as proof of this drinking till he forgets. And every time I visited, I kept on planting this idea into his head, where his wife physically forced him to do things to their daughter because ghosts were telling her to do so. That's all I kept on saying to him, for every time I had visited him, and because he was mentally and emotionally broken, he started to believe me. I could be sad that the whole ordeal that he had experienced had caused him some form of mental insanity to actually believe me. I then managed to get my girlfriend to talk to her father on the phone, and for months on end, her father would tell her how her mother forced him to do things, as she would beat him and even at a gunpoint force him to do things to my girlfriend when she was just a child. Her father also told her that ghosts were ordering his wife to force him to do things to her as a child. And this conversation went on and on. My girlfriend actually started to believe it. My girlfriend's mother now looks like one of those innocent-looking women who were actually nasty. After many months, my girlfriend actually visited her father in prison, and they talked about how their mother did all of those things and how she was actually insane. Her mother was into the whole supernatural and occult things. That much was true for my made-up story. Then the police visited her. It's clear that my girlfriend's family had some sort of issues from me to have taken care of this, far amongst my fictions. My girlfriend's mother was taken into custody. I questioned her for hours, and while my girlfriend and her own father started to accuse her of forcing my girlfriend's father to do things to her, because spirits told her to do the things. It made her look weird. She had also put on YouTube videos of her trying to call spirits from the dead to tell her things which only made her appearance look bad. She was now in line to be taken away to a place where insane people go. A reduced sentence was to be placed for my girlfriend's father. Then it was at the point where I couldn't really do any more for her family unless I tell the whole truth, which I didn't want to do at all. My relationship was good at this point, and we were a loving couple, but her father was still in prison, and her mother was to be placed in some insane institute. I then started receiving messages from the other side, that being the afterlife. I started getting visits from ghostly angrily telling me that they had never told my girlfriend's mother to do any of the things that I accused her of. These ghosts started to mess with my life. I couldn't sleep properly. I told my girlfriend about the ghosts and what they were angrily telling me. My girlfriend simply told me that there were no such things as ghosts, and that her mother was crazy, but I still tried to get her to believe me, that ghosts have been messing up my life, while telling me that they had never ordered her mother to do horrid things. Whenever I found myself alone, these ghosts would mess up any place I happened to be, like in the bathroom, at work, in my own cubicle, late at night. I begged my girlfriend to believe me, but she kept on saying how ghosts didn't exist, and that I am just experiencing some kind of weird imagination. I shouted at her for trying to gaslight me into believing what I was experiencing wasn't actually real. Somehow, but it was. These ghosts, and multiple of armies, would shout at me and constantly tell me how they never told my girlfriend's mother to do these things, and I had accused her of. My girlfriend was really sure that I was saving some kind of mental breakdown. And I kept on accusing her of gaslighting me into thinking that I was crazy and that I wasn't actually seeing or hearing the things that I was seeing or hearing. I went to a doctor who deals with mental health, and he started gaslighting me into saying that I was experiencing wasn't actually real. I even went to professionals within the occult and supernatural, and even they weren't convinced by what I was experiencing, and actually, a rather form of a mental disorder. Everyone, even my own friends and family, were gaslighting me into thinking that I was having some sort of mental breakdown of a sane mind, and that's what I was experiencing isn't what I think it was. There were times where I thought that they were all speaking the truth. But then, when I had another ghost attack, I knew they were gaslighting me. Everyone was gaslighting me. And just when my relationship, my girlfriend, had healed, it went back downhill again, as I had accused her of extreme gaslighting. I've burned down bridges with my own parents and friends because of their gaslighting. Thinking I was experiencing wasn't actually the way it was. I then collapsed one day when I started shouting at my girlfriend and woke up finding myself strapped to a bed, white covered room. My parents and friends were there. My girlfriend, as well as her own parents, were present. They were all concerned of me, and I was confused because my girlfriend's father should be in prison, and his wife should be in some insane institute. I told all of them the reason why my girlfriend's parents should be locked up, but they started to gaslight me, really heavily. Even the doctors that were present in my room are gaslighting me. All gaslighting me, as they told me how I was perceiving things of the last couple of months wasn't how it actually turned out. They are all trying to gaslight me, to thinking I'm insane, when I know that I'm not insane. They're just gaslighting me. I did not have some mental breakdown because of my rocky relationship with my girlfriend. I started to make up stuff out of nowhere. So I had broken down violently, apparently. Well, I did make stuff up differently about my girlfriend's father, go to prison, and my girlfriend's mother got into an insane institute. Even though my girlfriend's parents are here as visitors to see if I'm okay, they are just gaslighting. That's all. Why is everyone gaslighting me?